Hello, and today I'm going to be sharing two different versions of this muscle up cheat code I use to help people build the confidence to realize that they're most likely already strong enough to do their first ring muscle up, but it's really just a brain-body connection issue that's kind of messing up their technique. So this first frame of the post is just going to be a quick visual explanation with words on the screen that you can just follow along to if you're short on time. After this, I'm going to be going through an extremely detailed spoken version where I walk you through the technique in extreme detail. And then at the end of this post, I'm just going to be doing a podcast style explanation of my absolute favorite slow ring combination that I use to build brain-body connection. I love it for the mental connection it gives me. So I filmed this in my basement. I wanted it to look like a creepy David Fincher film, and I think it worked. Let me know if you like this style of post. I'm always trying to change things up and keep it interesting. I love you guys, and thank you so much for all the support. What's up, guys? I'm coming to you from inside my creepy boiler room to teach you an awesome cheat code to build the confidence to get your first ring muscle up and then start training them normally and clean them up from there. This is not a perfect muscle up. This is just a way to connect your brain to the motor units in your muscles and get your first muscle up in order to build the confidence and the belief in yourself that you can do this. So all you need to know, and the only thing you have to do in order to be able to try this muscle up, is I would say this is a pretty good prerequisite. Can you hold your hands together like this on your chest? So if you can hold the rings to your chest, again, like this, then you could pretty easily do this muscle up. That's all I would do, is be able to hold the rings with a false grip connected to my chest. So first things first about the false grip, notice I am grabbing here. My knuckles are in line with the straps. My middle knuckle is in line. I'm not grabbing up here. This will make you transition with an impossible dip. So if you do grab here, take your hands and rotate them down. Very important. Do not grab too far up. You will not make the transition. Now, to get into it. So what am I going to do? All right, so first things first, where does my butt go? So imagine a vertical line coming down directly from the rings. I want my butt about 6 inches in front of it, and that will give me the slightest bit of hip pivot that will help me in the transition to roll me on top of the rings. And now what am I doing with my butt on the floor? I'm not jumping off the floor, so this is something to know. It'll look like I'm jumping off the floor, but what I'm actually doing is a hip jump. So I'm actually going like this. So I'm going like that. I'm not jumping with my feet. My feet are just there. So it's a hip jump that's going to get you through this. So now I come back to the rings. I imagine that vertical line, and I get my butt 6 inches in front of it. Now, I'm going to be laying back, so when I do the pull, I'm going to be looking up at the ceiling, or should I say the insulation. I'm going to be looking up like so, and I'm going to be going like this. Looking up and going like this. So I'm arched, proud chest, arched thoracic spine. Once the rings touch my chest, I'm hollowing out and rolling through the transition. I'm looking up, arched chest, and then I look forward and roll through the transition while doing a very hard thoracic arch, a very hard sit-up essentially. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm trying to touch my shoulders to my ribs as hard as I can at the top of the pull while I'm transitioning. So now next, how high should the rings be hung? So if you see, I take a false grip. My arms are not locked out here. My arms have a little bit of bend. And the reason for that is that will put you in a much stronger pulling position than if your arms are locked out. Because again, this is not a standard muscle up. This is not perfection. This is just building the confidence so that you understand that you can do it. Muscle ups can be incredibly frustrating. And until this will just help teach you the arc. So much time is wasted on these floor muscle, these muscle up, assisted muscle ups, banded muscle ups. Just get the confidence and you can start training realistically right away. If your joints are prepared, like I said, be able to hold the rings at your chest. That's the requisite. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to turn the rings out like a true hanging position. I turn the rings out and I elevate my scaps. So I'm going to initiate the movement and the explosion by first pulling down my scapula, yanking my shoulders down and coming into the pull. So I'm going to be pulling the rings, my hands together and pulling the rings to my chest. And the reason I do this, I don't say pull like this. Pull your hands together and bring them to your chest, is because that's going to prevent you from flaring your elbows. When your hands are together like this, it's very difficult to flare the elbows. And what that does is that creates a shelf. So that creates a lat shelf for your tricep to lock onto. So if my elbows are tight, I can catch my tricep onto my lat and make it much easier to get through the transition, and it's also much safer on your elbows. So do not flare open. Don't pull like this because you'll miss that and you'll fall right between your arms. So I'm here, all right? I go like this and I elevate. So I'm looking up at the ceiling, up like this and elevate. And what I do is once I do that arch at the top, I just kick my legs straight. So here's what it looks like. I'm here, scaps like this. I'm looking up. I'm gonna yank my shoulders down, pull everything together, hands together, rip my shirt off. That's the movement. I don't open up and push. Hands come to here. I do that hard thoracic arch, just really slam into that hollow, very explosive hollow sit-up at the top, and I go like this, and I just rip my shirt off, All right, so essentially what I'm doing is I'm taking this part of my wrist, so I have a false grip on the ring here, and I'm creating a false grip on my pectoral muscle on my chest on this side of the ring. So I'm going from false grip, and then I'm adding a false grip on here onto my chest. So this is how it looks. I go like this, I turn the rings out, I look up, I elevate my scap, and then I'm gonna do an explosive jump like this with my butt and go through. So here it goes, 1, 2, 3, and up I go. Okay, so let's see that again. I'm here, butt 6 inches in front of the rings. All right, I'm looking up, chest, chest, chest. I'm gonna yank it together and do that butt jump. So 3, 2, 1, and yank. Boom, like that. Okay, so this is not a perfect muscle up. You don't want to train like this forever. This is simply a confidence builder.
And I'm back. So I start at the top of the rings and I slowly lay back as I draw my knees to my chest. I tuck my knees into my shoulders and I try to squeeze my shins into my forehead. The tighter I stay, the slower I can move. So as my butt passes my arms, I start switching my position into this tuck back lever, and then I initiate the skin the cat pull. So as my butt starts passing my forearms, that's when I initiate the vertical pull motion of this, because I want to keep my butt higher to allow me a much slower muscle up transition. As my shoulders clear the top of the rings, now I'm going to initiate my forward roll, and I slow the movement by only rotating my wrist. That movement comes from rotating my wrist. Again, as I enter into the bent arm stand, as my shoulders come on top of the rings, I start lifting my butt up in the air and slowly opening my legs as wide as possible so that I move as slowly as possible as I lift up into the straddle hold. So, and when I lower down into the Stadler hold, same thing. I keep my legs as wide as possible and move as slowly as possible. I hope you guys enjoyed this weird little quick explanation. I love you, and thank you so much for all the support.